Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to be looking at Psalm 94, and I want to jump right into it. We're going to look at four themes that basically help us wrap our minds around what the psalmist is up to here. First of all, I want you to notice the first theme is a prayer of vengeance. Sounds a little unusual. And notice how the psalmist begins. He said, the Lord, and Lord there is L-O-R-D, all caps, which means he's talking about Yahweh, the covenant-keeping, promise-keeping God of Israel. And he's telling us something about this God. It's the question we always ask in the Psalms is, what is this teaching us about God? And he says, and he does not say, the Lord is a God who is compassionate or loving, is full of loving kindness, or he's the God of mercy, or the God of who cares. No, he says, the Lord is a God who avenges. Now, you don't hear that a lot in modern day Christian conversations, but in the second line, he reinforces it. O God who avenges, shine forth. In other words, he's actually appealing to God to come to the bar of justice and to execute justice on evil in the world. It's something that I'm sure many of us, as we look around our world and we see all this happening, we understand that instinct. We have that same kind of cry in our own heart. In the second line, he says even more explicitly, rise up, judge of the earth. That's what an avenger is. Pay back to the proud what they deserve. Now, the psalmist in verse 3 begins to morph into a second theme, which we call lament. And we've seen many of these before, but you're going to see it here again. And it's a lament as to why God's justice is being delayed. He says, how long, Lord, will the wicked, how long will the wicked be jubilant? And then he begins to kind of describe the characteristics of these evildoers. He says, they pour out arrogant words. All the evildoers are full of boasting. They crush your people, Lord. They oppress your inheritance. They slay the widow and the foreigner. They murder the fatherless. They say, the Lord does not see. The God of Jacob takes no notice. Now, notice three elements there. First of all, their pride. He points out their arrogant words. They're full of boasting. He points out their violence and oppression in words like crush your people, oppress your inheritance, slay the widow, the foreigner, murder the fatherless. And then he points out a third, spiritual blindness, when he says, they say, the Lord does not see. The Lord of Jacob takes no notice. And then in verse 8, he's going to pivot once again, and now he's going to introduce a third theme, which is a contrast between the evil and the upright. And like many psalms, they're kind of just an explosion of emotion, and so sometimes it's actually hard to outline them real clearly because they kind of interweave back and forth, and you're going to see that here. But you can see the thought process that's going on behind the evildoer. He says, take notice, you senseless ones among the people. Notice how he's switched from a lament to God to now kind of almost talking to himself, as pretending as if he's speaking to these evildoers. He says, you fools, when will you become wise? Now that's the first in a series of 5 questions that he's going to ask. Does he who fashioned the ear not hear? In other words, if you've got ears to hear, then guess what? The Creator certainly can hear. Does he who formed the eye not see? I mean, if the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth, designed the eye, then certainly he can see what's going on. Does he who disciplines nations not punish? Does he who teaches mankind lack knowledge? No, he says, the Lord knows all human plans. In other words, nothing escapes God's purview. He knows that they are futile. And now he's going to shift back to the upright. And he says, but blessed is the one who disciplines, the one who chastises or chastens in some translations, the one you teach from your law. You grant them relief from days of trouble. In other words, the upright might go through difficult times, but God also relieves them. He never lets them be crushed beyond hope. He intervenes. He he helps and relieves the upright, till a pit is dug for the wicked. Now there it is. There's that that looking forward in trust to say, yes, maybe God's justice has been delayed, but it will not be denied. For the Lord will not reject his people. He will never forsake his inheritance. Judgment will again be founded on righteousness, and all the upright in heart will follow it. So there's a contrast going on here. And then finally, there's what we would call personal testimony. And you see this now as the psalmist gets very personal in verses 17 through 19, and then again in the final 2 verses. He says, unless the Lord, in other words, lest the Lord, leave the Lord out of the equation, I would have had no help. I would have soon dwelt in the silence of death. When I said, my foot is sleeping, your unfailing love, Lord, supported me. Your consolation brought me joy. And then the final 2 verses, he kind of sums it up again with a contrast, but you see this personal testimony. He says, but the Lord has become my fortress and my God, the rock in whom I take refuge. Notice the personal pronouns here. My fortress, my God, the rock in whom I take refuge. And then he closes by once again reminding the wicked, he will repay them for their sins and destroy them for their wickedness. The Lord our God will destroy them. And there it is. That's the theme. Even though justice might be delayed, it will not be denied. The same God offers both refuge and he offers revenge. And the question we need to ask are, which group are we in?